Hi, my name is Brandon, and I'm an alcoholic and addict in recovery. Today I'm going to tell you what residential treatment was like for me. This is just the residential treatment that I experienced. There's lots of different types of residential treatment programs. There's state-run programs, state-run facilities that are often a good option for people who might not have insurance, or for people who need some assistance with paying for the service. There's also very high-end options for people who want extras like massages, or being able to pay for a private room or things like that. The treatment center I went to, though, I think it was just perfect for me. It was exactly what I needed. And I went to I live in San Antonio, Texas, and I went to the San Antonio Recovery Center, and it was a perfect match for what I needed at that time. The going into a treatment center can be a very scary thing. And so I wanted to make this video to try to demystify it for anybody who's looking at that as an option. It was a scary thing, but it was one of the most bizarrely awesome experiences of my life. And I call it bizarre because it is a very strange scenario. You've got, in the case of my treatment center, I think at the most, and this was pre-COVID, I think at the most we had 20 people who were living there, and we're all living there together. We're all trying to get better, and we all came from totally different walks of life, had all these different problems, and the level of dysfunction is pretty impressive. And, I, of course, include myself in this, but there's a lot of dysfunction in the people who are living together. But the beautiful relationships and the things that happen in the group sessions that we had, the things that people reveal to each other, the friendships that form, it's amazing to watch this stuff happen in this kind of environment. And so what it looked like was the first day that I walked in to treatment, I was terrified. And I walked into the treatment center. I had my bags, and there's people in the common room, and they're kind of watching to see who I am, and came in, and the first thing that we had to do was unload all my bags onto the table, do a bag check, and make sure I hadn't brought in any contraband, anything like that. Of course, that's incredibly important, because at a treatment center, you never want any kind of drugs, any kind of weapons, anything like that could put any of the patients at danger. And so once that was done, I was shown to my room again. And even talking about it now, the emotions are welling up. I was terrified, and there was this technician that was working there that was so kind to me, that helped me into my room, that helped me get my bed made, that just showed me around a little bit and really gave me a lot of love. And that was my first indication that, this was a place of love. This was a place where people cared for each other, and it was a place where people took care of each other. It also became clear, this technician told me, how long she had been sober, the kinds of things she had gone through. So very quickly I realized that not only was I in treatment with other people with substance abuse disorders, but the people who worked at this facility were almost all of them coming from a background of having some kind of substance use disorder. So once I got settled in, I found that, and again, this isn't everybody's experience, but I was very lucky that I found people to be, my fellow patients, to be extremely welcoming. Everybody was friendly. Well, most people were friendly. I had several people who showed me around and taught me how things worked. I was in a treatment center where the patients were expected to, or residents were expected to take on chores, do cleaning, wash the dishes, put up dishes, clean out the fridge on a regular basis. All these different things to maintain the place in the common living areas were our responsibility. And so I was taught about all of those things. And then we got into the daily rhythm of what we were doing. Our days were primarily taken up by group therapy, where we would, and process group, where we would go into a group and either have a process session where we would discuss issues that were on our mind. We would discuss issues we were having with recovery. We would discuss issues we had before we came into residential treatment. And then we would have educational sessions where we might learn things like relapse prevention or grounding techniques or meditation techniques, things like that. In addition, we would have times where we would do things like go to the park to get exercise. So we would go out there and would walk, we'd go play football with each other, things like that. And those weren't, we never spent more than an hour doing that, but it was enough to force us to get outside, to get some sun, and to get all of us thinking that this is an important part of life. And I think the reason that a lot of those things were important is that it taught me how much I needed to balance the different aspects of my life. I was very all or nothing, and being in a residential treatment center where I was kind of forced to divvy up my day into different sections to get a little bit of everything in became a very important part of it. So that was how the treatment part went. And in the middle of all of this, I also had a counselor who I would see when I needed to, if I had any major concerns or if I had something that was really bothering me. But then also on a regular basis, I would see this counselor to talk to her about how I was doing, how I was progressing with a treatment plan. And then I also had a psychiatrist who was helping me with medication and figuring out what medications I should be on in order to treat some of the dual diagnosis mental disorders that I was dealing with as part of my treatment. I had gone in for depression and had been previously diagnosed with bipolar disorder. And so it was, there was a lot packed into each day, and that was just the first part of each day. In tomorrow's video, I'll talk about the other part of the experience where we had breaks to do some things, and what did we do in those breaks, as well as our nightly schedule, which was a big issue for me to overcome, where we were leaving to go to different meetings every night. And then what it looked like on the weekends, and some of the choices I made in terms of when to leave, when to come back, and when to ask family to come see me, that kind of thing. So I'll be back here tomorrow with more about residential treatment and what it was like. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. I'll be happy to answer them either there or in tomorrow's video. In the meantime, have a good day.